This is Isaac Morehouse. Welcome to the podcast where we discuss education, entrepreneurship, big ideas, how to put them into practice in the real world, and above all, how to live free.
You have good recording software. It doesn't make me sound like a 3-year-old jackass.
We're recording right now.
Yes, we are.
You realize that?
I know.
You just said a swear.
Oh wait, is this the official thing?
This is it.
This is?
Back in the saddle again.
Can we start over?
This is the witty banter that people want to hear. No. This makes us relatable.
Dad.
No, come on.
You didn't even have your intro.
The intro gets edited in later.
Oh.
I've got people for that.
Okay.
I've got a guy from Canada.
An international You should at least say hello to the audience.
All right, well, I was getting to that, but this way it's like in media res in Latin, which it's like you begin in the middle. You're dropped right into the middle of the action.
Great.
All right, so I am back with my most popular guest of all time.
Why?
And it's not even close. If I go look at the stats on the podcast, which I try not to do because I just usually am reminded that my mom is the only audience member. I'm being self-deprecating. I'm trying to sound humble. I know you're being really, I have a huge audience.
Yeah.
So the most popular episode by far was interview with, or what's it like to be an unschooler with NL Morehouse, right? And that was what, 2 years ago?
Yep.
You were 10 at the time.
Yeah, I was 10.
And I did interviews with you on the blog when you were 8 and 9 as well. We got like a variety show lined up today. We're just going to talk about a bunch of different stuff. Does that sound good?
All right.
You're game for anything? Now that you've already sworn on the air, it's like it can't go anywhere downhill from here. Right?
I don't even know what that means. All right, can we just?
Okay.
This intro's really long.
Let's start. Okay. Well, I just wanted to say that Nolan, aka NL Morehouse, my son, is a bit of a threat to me. That's why I haven't brought him back all this time. Because you're more popular than I am. I get a little bit sensitive about that. You're like my kryptonite. But here we are. I'm taking a risk. This is dangerous for me. So it's like Top Gun. I can see that this is dangerous.
Except I don't know anything about Top Gun. So.
Again, another reason why you're a threat to me. I don't even know how we can be related. All right, so let's jump right into something that we were discussing recently. You decided this year, despite the fact that we are not of any form of Spanish or Latino heritage, to celebrate Day of the Dead. How did that come about? Why'd you decide to do that?
Let me think. It wasn't really any specific point, I guess. I mean, I just sort of grew out of Halloween, I guess. I don't know. Making a costume didn't really have any appeal to me anymore, and if all it was in it for me was, getting diabetes, then
it's pronounced diabetes.
Diabetes. I don't know. I felt like it wasn't worth my time. I mean, Christmas really celebrates something important, and that's giving. I just feel like there's other things that need to be celebrated in the form of holidays that aren't given full justice. Like, I don't know, and death is a really important thing that shouldn't be ignored as much as it is, or afraid of. People shouldn't be afraid of as much as they are, and I felt like Day of the Dead is more equal to Christmas, and that it celebrates something important. And it's just a little more than just running around getting candy.
So being more comfortable with death, not being as afraid of it.
Yeah.
Do you think Halloween plays that role in some way?
Well, you were telling me this earlier that for a lot of people, since the Western region is more afraid of death, you were saying a lot of people's outlet is Halloween, where we all dress up in gory outfits and stuff, but I don't know. Personally, I don't really see that. I mean, maybe it is derived from a few parts of Day of the Dead. It's more of a combination of a few holidays, mainly being All Saints Day, but I don't know.
So you just felt like you want to see more meaningful
Yes.
celebrations that are not quite as surface level, and you felt like Day of the Dead would be has a little bit of a deeper and richer tradition than something like Halloween.
Halloween is like the Thanksgiving of Day of the Dead.
So like Halloween is to Day of the Dead as Thanksgiving is to Christmas.
Okay, Frasier.
Is that what you mean? Why is that Frasier? That's the way, by the way, questions are worded on, I can't remember if it's the ACT or SAT. And there's a name for that type of question. Now I'm forgetting, but where it's like X is to Y as B is to C, and you have to like fill in the blank. So I just be glad I never had to take either of those tests. And I guess you won't either unless you really want to.
Cool.
You're already bored. Oh, okay. Let's move on to something. Did you feel, by the way, did you feel like your Day of the Dead celebration was a success?
It was a success in that I learned what I was doing wrong, but, you know.
What's that, being alive?
No. It was that
What did you do wrong?
I was looking for traditions that weren't my own, and, you know, at least I have somewhere to start. I have to really make it my own in order to give it the same same sentimental value that Christmas has.
So you just kind of realized that since nobody else here in South Carolina, or very few, really celebrate this, that it was hard to generate the same kind of sentiment and interest and depth.
Exactly.
Do you feel like you're appropriating someone else's culture? How dare you try to celebrate this day? No, what do you think of that argument? Like, do you think there's merit in that when people say like, well, this is somebody else's culture and tradition, you have no business?
I don't really agree with that at all. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it belongs to anyone, you know? If I find value in this, I think I should be able to use it.
Yeah, I'm pretty I'm on par with you there. I mean, you know, I understand people being offended by certain things. I never want to try to offend someone, but at the end of the day, man, everything is a remix, right?
Sure.
Okay. I got to ask you a question. I've never been able to figure this out. Maybe you have some thoughts on it. Why has Marvel been able to move its stories into the cinematic universe with such amazing success and make some just movie after movie after movie?
I'm going to stop you there, you raging ageist. You think just because I'm 12, I know all about superhero movies.
What? Oh. Now they're like, how do you escape when you've been called an ageist or racist or whatever? There's nothing I can say that won't dig me deeper into the hole. Let's just pretend that you never made that accusation. Or I could just embrace it. You know what? I am an ageist. I am a raging ageist.
You're a raging anti-youngite. I don't know.
So, but seriously, besides the Dark Knight trilogy, which is sort of separate, it's kind of its own little thing, like Batman versus Superman, the new Justice League trailer looks
the
like
animation
about the worst thing. It looks worse than Power Rangers.
Early 2000s animation. That's what it was.
That sounds really recent to me, but I guess that's pretty old, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Like Spy Kids animation.
But what do you think went wrong? Do you think DC just doesn't have as rich of a cast of characters and stories to draw from, or is there something fundamentally flawed in the way they're going about trying to translate it to cinema, and why has Marvel done it so well?
That's a really good question. I think DC as a company is just starting to die and starting to fade out of relevance. I mean, both Marvel and DC have this problem, but like what the problem I'm about to mention, DC, like, I don't know, it's trying way too hard to stay relevant. And that's really annoyed me. It's really drawn me away from it personally. They're randomly turning like Batman into like a like homosexual, which it's not that I'm against homosexuality. It's that Batman just isn't.
He just
is.
It feels
straight.
desperate. Like they're trying to
Batman isn't a homosexual. It's actually a different character, but still.
Oh, okay. So
You can't, these characters have a history of being straight. Introduce a new character, you know? You can't just suddenly switch them. They just aren't that. You can't mold them with the times. And this is a problem that, you know, Marvel has to Iron Man's a black woman now. That is a real thing.
Well, so this brings up a good question, because this is something I talk with Chris Nelson about in regards to Star Wars as well.
Yeah.
Because when you're telling a story that's like, these superhero stories are now kind of modern myths, and they've got sort of a life of their own, and each individual author that comes to do, there's sort of like a game where you're allowed to take it in a new direction, but like you can't go too far.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that? Do you think we can never have a, you know, really old Tony Stark, or Tony Stark who's blind, or a different race? Or could we retell the origin story of Batman or Superman in a new way? Like how much can you deviate and make it your own? And how much do you have to sort of stay within the canon?
That's a really good question. I'm actually not against characters like, you know, in comics getting older and getting replacements, but, you know, I feel like there's not enough of a transition. It's too spontaneous.
So what about like the origin story? What if you did a reboot and gave a superhero a different origin? Off limits?
Not really. I don't know. I think the changes that are really the big problems are the ones that are obviously directly related to modern viewpoints and people.
So maybe it's not so much what you do, but maybe there's an element of why you do it.
Yes, why you do it.
So that's like an artist who's just really intrigued by what would happen if we reframed Batman in this way. It may be risky, it may or may not work, but there's something that feels less off-putting about it than like, okay, guys, let's look around and poll the young kids today and see what they're into, and then let's slap that on top of one of our characters.
Yeah, it doesn't work. But back to the movies, which I really strayed away from. I don't know. I think that DC might just be losing money, but you know, I have no idea. They're an industrial tank. I mean, still, with the animation of Justice League, it's either that they're losing money, or more likely that they don't care.
Isn't it funny how that happens? Once upon a time, only the wealthiest production company could afford CGI like that. And today it's associated with, oh boy, that's all they can afford.
It's like Sharknado.
Do you think maybe it's just a superhero movie overload in general? So even the Marvel movies, which have all been really, it's like, there was something special about them being rare, and now it's kind of like, I can't even keep up. I still haven't even seen the latest Spider-Man. I'm interested, but I'm almost exhausted by it.
That is perfect. In fact, Avengers, the concept, has like really infected movie media. Now, like,
you mean like bringing all the characters together into a single giant taco salad of a movie?
Taco salad.
I hope that's not cultural appropriation.
Tons of movies want to like have individual movies about all their characters and then bring them together in some epic fight against a villain no one cares about. It's this formula that too many people are using. I don't know. It's like, in fact, you know that new movie, the Tom Cruise The Mummy?
Uh-huh.
All right, so that is part of a series they're coming up with.
Well, there was like 3 mummies before with Brandon Fraser.
Brendan? No, there was only one with Brendan Fraser. Then there were the 2 black and white movies before that.
No. There was at least 2 with Brendan Fraser.
No. Common misconception.
No, we're going to look it up. We're looking it up right now. We've got the internet. Oh.
This is ridiculous.
Oh.
We don't...
Brandon, is it... Oh, it is Brendan with an E. Okay, yes. We're looking it up. The Mummy. Okay, and let's see if there's a...
There's not another one.
Oh, come on. There's got to be. Hold on.
No, there's two.
The Mummy production. We're on Wikipedia here. Say something else to keep people entertained while I look this up.
Well, just to restate my fact, there are 4 Mummy movies. There were 2 black and white ones, which I guess are seen as masterpieces. And then there's the Brendan Fraser one, and now there's the Tom Cruise one that's part of the Monster Avengers movies they're making.
Okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. The Mummy's box office performance led to numerous sequels and spin-offs. The sequel, The Mummy Returns, was released, and that had the same 2 characters. And then a prequel, The Scorpion King, and then Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Okay.
And then The Scorpion King 2. Okay. So there's been like 5.
All right, you're right.
Yes. Wait a minute. Is that the first time you've ever said I'm right?
Those are part of their own series, so I'm going to consider them one.
Okay, so let's just redefine things so that we can both be right.
Wait.
Is that what we're doing? Okay, so what was your original point?
That there's too much Avengers in the world. There's too much, not just like the Marvel characters, too much Avengers setup, too many superhero plot lines going on.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like there's so many, the comic book, and especially now that I've seen, you've got some of these like encyclopedias of characters. Each character has so much backstory and whatever that, like the Netflix series on Daredevil is amazing because it's all about just Daredevil. And then they bring in Punisher and Elektra a little bit. And it's good, but it loses a little something. And now, like, I guess they're going to do one where they, like, bring all of them together.
Oh, they already did it, and it has, like...
So I haven't seen that.
Awful
I would much rather have a whole bunch of individual shows, even though Luke Cage was very badly made and almost unwatchable. But I'd rather have individual movies, shows, stories. And same with, like, what you were saying about, the Batman movies that have multiple villains in a single movie. It's like you don't get time to really dive into one.
I didn't say that in this.
No, I know, but you said that to me.
Yeah, I don't like that. It's really difficult. Like we just watched the Dark Knight.
Batman Begins.
Batman Begins, the first.
Which I've been like telling Nolan, like this is going to be amazing. You got to watch. These are the greatest movies.
Like it.
He was like, I like the Tim Burton version better.
Yeah, I like the.
Which shocked me. Why is that?
Because the Tim Burton version is, Batman is dark. Yes, he's very...
No one shall ever speak ill of Christopher Nolan or anything he hath produced.
Batman is dark, yes, but there's a bit of absurdity there. Like, Tim Burton is a very weird gothic person, which makes him perfect for Batman, because Batman isn't entirely just, like, darkness, and even the song from the Lego movie comes to mind. But... There's a weird, wacky undertone that isn't necessarily cheery, but more like a creepy weirdness.
So
I don't know.
There's sort of 2 ways to take a comic book and to put it into believable cinematic form, because we're talking about people who wear like tights and bat ears, right? So to make that believable, there's kind of 2 approaches that can both work. One is to make it like self-aware, like, yeah, I'm a little bit of an eccentric weirdo. I'm kind of a clown. I wear a costume. And one is like,
make it hyper-realistic.
Like dark and meaningful, and there's nothing laughable about it. There's no tongue-in-cheek.
Except they even fail at it being like nothing laughable, because Batman's voice in Batman Begins made me laugh a bunch when I was supposed to be crying.
Because he's supposed to be altering his voice so he can't be recognized as Bruce Wayne.
No, but that's...
As B-Wayne.
No, that is... No, this is altering your voice. This is Batman. He sounds like Nicolas Cage.
We gotta be careful, because Christian Bale has a reputation. If you criticize his acting, he might come and throw something at you.
Okay.
Like this, like, sound clip leaked from him on set. It might have been one of the Batman movies, where like he just starts yelling and berating some like extra or some kid, like, you're nothing, I've been in all these movies, how dare you, like just made himself look like a total jerk. Well, we have the second Batman movie, The Dark Knight, I think is like one of the finest pieces of cinema ever created. So we gotta watch that one, and we'll see. Okay, so tell me about. So you're like super into pop culture. You're kind of one of those people who like, you're highly critical of highly pop stuff, but you're also just like a consumer of all kinds of stuff. So you've almost been studiously consuming comedies like Seinfeld, now Frasier, The Office, Modern Family, Bob's Burgers.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things in pop culture right now, some trends that you like and some that you don't like?
All right, I'm going to do 3 of each, or try to.
Perfect. I like arbitrary numbers.
Okay, let's start with the stuff I don't like, because I'm a negative Nelly. So what do you mean by, like, can you make it a little less broad for me? I need to understand better.
Okay, so trends that you're seeing in movies, music, video games, TV shows, a direction you're seeing things go that you say, I like this. This is better than the recent past. I like the way that culture is developing this way, and other trends that you're like, I don't like this. I think it's getting worse than it used to be.
Oh, I was just thinking about one a few days ago that I've been seeing in movies that I hate a lot. I don't
Well, so here's
remember.
one that's it's sort of older, but it's still around. So the trend that was largely kicked off by The Office, I think, of kind of the
that's the
camera as a character, sort of like interview, mockumentary style.
Oh, well, that's not what I was going to say.
Oh, well, then say what you were going to say.
I just remembered. I think it's... And this is more I see in commercials now. And I made a blog post about this.
What's your blog again? What's the...
I'm not going to advertise.
The website. Our listeners, hi Mom, want to know where to go.
The blog of NL at wordpress.com.
That's right. The blog of NL.wordpress.com.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Sorry. You're going to pay me later for that promo spot. That's called product placement. You're going to pay me after we have this delicious ice cold Pepsi. Okay.
All right. They're being very... I probably go into depth more about this on my blog post. Commercials and really any advertising is getting very over genuine. What I mean by that is like, I don't know. I think this was started by, yes, The Office, a little, but
like authentic and like real.
Yeah. So let's start with YouTube. The people on there are not incredibly professional. That isn't a bad thing. I mean, they're clearly doing something right, but the way they talk, the way they stutter on jokes, it's almost... What I mean by that, when you're commentating on something or when you're making a joke, you almost instinctively say, like, stutter or mumble something because it gives it this, like, uncut authenticity that makes it funnier somehow. Just to sort of mumble like, yeah, I don't know if we would do that. That sort of, I don't know. A lot of people, I don't know, are attracted to that humor.
Well, so I'm wondering because I've even heard like in business, people say, oh, if you want to do a Facebook ad, they perform a lot better if it's literally just like you filming yourself on your cell phone with like bad hair and wind in the background.
No script.
Then if it's, And so...
People brag on YouTube about the fact that they don't have scripts.
Well, so I'm wondering if there's sort of two interesting things here. One is, I mean, what we're doing right now is unscripted, raw. It's going to be unedited unless Ryan can add some bass to my voice.
Several points.
Well, we've got some outline and stuff, but it's when people are sort of being
You're doing
raw...
the weird thing with your hands.
I use my hands when I talk. I can't... If I put them down, my brain doesn't work anymore. Me no make point. No understand. I need them.
Right.
I need them.
All right, fine.
Let me just smack you in the face as I'm making my gestures. No, when it's like real and people feel like, it's just I'm privy to an actual conversation. That kind of feels cool. When it gets a little weird is when a company like American Express spends like, $100 million to produce an ad that they purposefully make to look like it was just a raw, authentic conversation. And then it starts to get like inauthentic by trying to be authentic.
Yeah, they don't.
And it's the whole, chicken and the egg thing.
All right. It's like, I saw a wet wipe commercial a while ago that...
Was it authentic?
Yes, it inspired me to create the blog post, and it really made me realize how much I hate that style of advertising. So thank you, what was it? I don't even know what company name it was, so no product placement.
Johnson & Johnson? Wet wipes?
That's a thing.
Maybe our listeners are wondering right now if we were secretly paid by Wet Wipes to pretend like we were spontaneously criticizing a Wet Wipes commercial to get people to go to YouTube and watch it.
That's too meta. That's too much. But yeah, the woman advertising.
Inception.
I don't know. I don't remember what she said, but she said something bizarre as there was like an opposite to, I don't even remember. She said something, and then she was that like wouldn't it work, and then she said, "Yeah, I don't think we could do that. You know, that'd be really weird." And then she just started to stray away from the
So instead of like wipes. The old like polished spokesperson, wet wipes are the most sanitary way to clean your house. You know,
she was like trailing off.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna. Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Our wet wipes are pretty cool, but let me tell you about my cat.
Cat wipes. So you are you writing a book right now?
Yes. It's it's typing it out technically.
Technically.
It's you can't say technically without sounding like an uptight nerd.
I know. The once you throw that word in there, technically and actually, let me correct you. Well, okay, so tell us what it's about.
It's called The Grassblade World, and it came to me when my sisters were watching Thumbelina, because, I don't know, and this is always a thing that's really bugged me. They're tiny. It's that characters will wear, like, leaves for clothing, when in reality, cotton plants would supply much more for them, for, like, clothing, and plant fibers would suffice for boats and stuff, but instead they just sort of like, ride around in primitive little leaves. It's not as industrial as creatures that size you'd imagine would be, so, I don't know, I created a little, a story about a weird tiny creature named Zito, who, I don't know, he's smaller than a blade of grass, and I don't want to spoil too much before I finish the book.
So do you feel like it puts a lot of pressure on you now that you have announced that you are writing a book, because people will be like, hey, where's that book? Is it done yet?
I think it probably will. I'm a little lazy with my writing. But
do you think that kind of pressure will help, or does that tend to make you like more stressed?
I don't know. I think I just don't care.
Because people are going to be like asking me to ask you, or posting on Facebook, where's that book? I want to read it. All of our fans. Hi, Mom. See, I told you, a joke gets better. You repeat it. First it's funny, then it's not because it's been used too many times, and you keep repeating it enough, it gets funny again.
That's how internet memes are born, Dad. They don't...
What's wrong with that? They're born for a reason.
What reason are they born for?
Because they're funny.
All right, let's move on to the next subject.
All right, so I had a couple more on here. You know what? Let's skip around. So I'll set the stage. The other, I was going to say day, but it was really week, month. We were at an indoor mall, one of those places that apparently still exists, but it was like like everything is falling apart, going out of business. It was very sad. Those were like indoor malls were.
Oh, is this perfume?
Was a part of my childhood. Well, we were walking through one of the department stores.
Perfumes.
The other one went out of business. Yes.
Yes.
And we noticed. Nolan was like, "You ever notice how the perfumes always have these kind of like dire and overly dramatic names, like Obsession.
Yeah. Yes.
Or like whatever." And so we started to take them more and more extreme. So it was Nihilism by L'Oreal.
It was Black Plague by Catherine.
Because then it was like, some of them are like poison. So then we're like, arsenic. And then we're like Ebola.
Diabetes by Wilford Brimley.
What was the one you had? Crippling depression.
Oh yeah, crippling depression, and
my favorite was Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, like you can just imagine the ad with some desperate sad, aimless looking.
I want it, but
person.
I don't.
Yes. I'm interested in you, but I'm interested in nothing. I care about nothing. Yeah, I thought there's a whole string.
Cancer by Jacqueline.
Yeah, that's just straight up. Let's just straight up go there all the way,
Yes.
you know. Yeah, carcinogenic, melanoma.
What?
I don't know. I don't even know if those words go together.
I don't.
Because you could take it in a lot of different directions.
Ebola by Raquel.
I already said Ebola.
You did?
Yeah,
Oh.
you can't double use a joke.
Sorry.
But that's a good one. Thank you, me. Well, you might have come up with that one. I can't remember. So I think we need to come out with our line of extreme perfumes that basically take
there was
the
this
sentiment of these perfume
we did.
ads.
They were based off like drugs, like because of
Oh yeah, because there's one called. Wasn't there one?
obsession, and
I
so
thought
I
there
did
was-
drug addiction,
Oh,
where it was
okay,
like
okay.
I think it was like marijuana by someone, and then I did I thought of crystal meth by Walter.
Like Breaking Bad.
Yes, like Breaking
Oh,
Bad.
it's terrible. But I bet
You're
I bet they would
terrible.
sell on that. You're so terrible. You
I
never
saw this
call.
funny thing on Facebook recently. It was like someone said, remember kids, if someone offers you drugs, say thank you because drugs are expensive.
Wait a minute. That's a good point. I believe the last time we interviewed, you were like anti-Facebook.
I was.
You have now joined Facebook. You have basically become a middle-aged woman.
I have.
Yes, you're an old.
Are
Yenta
you a
now.
are you a
You're an
middle-aged
old Yenta
woman
now,
then?
sharing pictures of your lunch
I wasn't sure.
and posting on people's wall. You never call.
Oh God.
No, what made you decide to join Facebook, and have you enjoyed it?
Because you
so
kept
far?
telling me to join Facebook.
Did I?
Yeah,
I must have been lonely.
I joined
on
Facebook,
I
and
needed-
I don't know. It's
Do you like
fun.
it?
Yeah, I don't check it a bunch, but you know.
That's probably good. You
Can
don't
we-
want to become unhealthy.
Can we move on to
You're,
the next
you're
subject?
bored by this?
right
Okay,
here? Yes.
so I just have a couple.
Like we're going off track.
Well, there's no track. I just listed a smattering, a buckshot of things we
smattering
could. Uh-huh.
with a
Just
smack of ham.
just a smear of things we could talk about. I don't know why Yiddish slang started to work its way in. Okay. Watery with a smack of ham, yes. Unschooling. This is mostly what we talked about last time, and my suspicion is not just your personality, but this topic is what interested so many people in listening to that episode, is hearing an unschooled kid, I hope that's not an ageist slur, talk about the experience. So you're 12 now.
I prefer young people.
Wait, what do you mean, kid? So unschooling, what do you... I guess what is your experience of it? What do you like? Do you have any things that you're worried like, oh no, I'm not going to learn certain things that are going to harm me in life? And do you feel that you have any challenges or struggles with having, so much freedom?
I don't know. Well, to start with why I like it, I guess I've never really been a class person. Every class I've
You mean
taken.
you're classless? You have no class?
I haven't really learned anything from classes. I haven't taken anything away from them. I don't know. I just don't work well in a classroom. I learn more through personal experience. I'm very into drawing things, and as much as I want to get better, no art lessons have ever helped me. It's really personal teaching that really only works on me, and I don't know. I just don't remember anything I'm taught in a classroom. It's just not important to me, and I just don't work well in that scenario. So I like the freedom of unschooling. I like to have the option of not doing it. I don't know. I don't like to be, I don't know. School just doesn't, it's not compatible with my personality, and I don't like that, I don't know, the environment, it seems very forceful. Like, they assume everyone is compatible with school. I just, it's not that the people that, don't get good grades are dumb. It's that it probably just doesn't work for them that way. That's just not how I learn, and those aren't the things that I want to learn. I don't want to learn about how we America something dominated something.
The myth of the greatness of our country.
Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges? Because
Challenges.
Without saying, obviously you, according to what you said, you prefer unschooling to the alternatives, but it doesn't mean it's without challenges. So what are some challenges to having such a great degree of freedom, not having structure sort of imposed or given to you? Creating your own structure is really hard. And I know at times you have struggled with that and you have sort of wanted to impose some structure on yourself, and you've tried different things like fasting from screens for a time or different things. And
yes, structure is hard. It's, I don't know. I'm not willing to go with the alternative, even if it means structure, because I think it's a dangerous environment for the mind and even the body. I don't know. But yes, I have a lot of problems with structure. Meeting people is a little harder when you're not crammed into a building with 50 other children. But
what are some things that you do to try to overcome the tendency to kind of just let the day waste away without producing, or the tendency to not meet enough people? What are some things you've done to try to help you overcome those challenges?
Well, I try to keep myself on a schedule. It's not very complex, but it's just a way of managing how much technology I take in. Say I get 1 hour to just browse the internet, but otherwise I'm pretty techless, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I've been working on trying to manage what I do in a day a little better, but
what for you, if you were to describe a day that you think would be a well-lived, productive day, what would that include?
Well, wake up, shower, get all of that out of the way. Let's see, breakfast, on time. I usually disorganize my meals.
I'm the same way. I forget to eat.
But I don't know, maybe have a few times meeting other people planned. Get an hour at my computer in, and
when you've got that hour just to browse whatever, what do you usually find yourself doing?
I usually just watch a bunch of YouTube videos mindlessly, and I'm trying not to do that. I want to do something with my hour a little more constructive, maybe try to beat a level on a game, or
What kind of videos draw you in on YouTube? Movie reviews, game reviews?
Movie reviews are probably what I watch the most. I'm not as into gaming videos as I used to be. I mean, if I were, I'd probably spend my time watching stuff related to Minecraft, but that market has kind of crashed on YouTube, so. Yeah,
you definitely must watch a lot of video and movie and TV reviews, because you'll often tell me things about shows and movies that you've never seen and they're 20 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
You seem to love that kind of stuff. So you'll do your hour.
I like critics. They're fun.
And then you usually draw for several hours
I do a lot
day.
of drawing. I have tons of piles of stuff that I draw. Just to balance it out. See some people. I don't know. Take a few bike rides. I don't know. That's usually what makes me happiest in a day.
So, you had a short-lived sandwich business.
Yes, I did.
You created your first company. Is it now dead, or might it resurrect in the future?
Well,
he hasn't thought.
I don't want to confirm or deny anything, because customers are probably listening.
So your shareholders, you don't want the stock to plummet based on rumors?
I don't want to speak for the future, but I think as of now, I'm probably not going to be going back anytime soon. I liked making the sandwiches. I liked, giving them to people. It was a fun experience, but I lose too much money.
Well, you didn't lose money the last time. You just have to buy in bulk, and it's harder.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I lose too much money for the money that I make back. And, if the best way to not lose as much money, if I were like a lot of other sandwich businesses, I'd probably, buy stuff in bulk, but usually they aren't as good quality then. So I just felt like, this was a fun experience and I don't regret taking it, but it's not helping me enough. So I just decided to,
Well,
quit.
And this came about because you were like, why do kids always do lemonade stands? And I was like, well, it's one of those things with a low barrier to entry. It's easy to do. And you're like, why not a sandwich stand? And so then we kind of started brainstorming. Well, you got to go somewhere where a bunch of people want sandwiches at the same time. So you took them to Uncle Levi's office, Ceteris. And it did pretty well. You went first and gave everybody a free sample in exchange for them signing up on your email list, which was a great way to get going and then take orders. But as you said, you are very quality focused, and you only wanted to use really high quality ingredients that you yourself like, which meant that your margins were not very good. But it was kind of a fun experience to do, wasn't it? It was
fun.
So what do you think? You're 12, and each year that goes by, you probably feel a little bit of pressure, if not internally, at least from society, to like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And like do you ever think about, what are you going to do to like earn money, to have a career? Does that stress you out? Do you have ideas?
About that a lot, but
what do you think?
What I usually move to for comfort, what I try to remind myself of, is that it's sort of the misconception, in my opinion, that you have one thing that you're going to be when you grow up, or like one thing you're going to chase after, start at McDonald's and then become like, I don't know, like a firefighter or a doctor or something.
Whack Arnold's is tearing this family apart.
But I've always kind of liked to think that you don't have to stick to one career. I just want to, get enough money for it and then do whatever job sounds fun. I've had a lot of ideas for video games. I've had a lot of ideas for movies. I thought of a fun idea for a game show. I like food and food companies, that sort of thing. I don't think I have to be limited to one career, and that's what I go for comfort. It calms me down a lot about the whole like pressure to decide what you're gonna be, and I think it's a more rational way of seeing it.
Yeah, it's weird though. The older you get, especially once you start to get in your teens and 20s, it's so much easier to have a simple answer for people. I want to be this, or I'm studying this, because it like makes other people feel comfortable. Like they want to be able to identify you as one thing, and it's like when you're kind of, I do a lot of stuff. It's like, what? You're like Kramer. Nobody knows what you do. It like makes people uneasy. And so you get this weird tension where
it's phenomenal.
You're sort of like socially rewarded for artificially constraining your track early in life, because it just makes it easier to answer people. But in reality, I say this a lot, like what you'll be doing in 10 years probably doesn't even exist yet. So just continuing to move forward. But you still at some point you got to earn money. So like, even if you're developing several interests, you got to have like a job of some kind, whatever. I'm going to start charging you rent next year, so you better. All right. I was kidding. I'm not going to start next year.
Oh, okay.
But I will eventually.
I wasn't paying attention, so I didn't know you said next
year. You just owned me by turning it into an insult.
Owned?
I can't believe. Yeah, isn't that what kids say this day? Pond.
I don't like those modern phrases.
Oh, too good for them. Huh? Too good for your peers. All right, let's close with a final introspection or reflection. How do you think life is different for you as a 12-year-old than it was for me when I was a 12-year-old 21 and a half years ago?
That's a good question.
Well, thank you. They call me Larry King.
What?
Larry King.
That has no value because I don't know who
he's a host. He's an interviewer famous for asking probing questions.
Yes, except Larry King is like barely a subject now, so.
How times have changed.
Specify that a little better for me.
Well, what do you imagine are the main differences between life for a 12-year-old today versus 20 years ago?
I don't know. Hold on. Think about that.
Or even just like what you know of my childhood. How do you think yours differs?
Yeah, I'm gonna speak for myself and not all 12-year-olds now.
But you're supposed to be a raging collectivist.
I think based on the stories you tell me about having to rake squirrel manure, I think there's a little more freedom there, just from what I've seen of, I don't know, the way parenting was done back then. I think things are a little more open. I've noticed unschooling is definitely not as taboo anymore.
That's true.
I don't know. I think it's just a matter of there being more freedom.
More choice in everything. I mean,
yeah.
Even just technology, the fact that you can have a phone or computer with your own individual mix of apps, and you can listen to an individual song instead of buying an album or hearing whatever comes on the radio, like customization and everything.
Yep. But I don't have much to add to that question, honestly, because I don't know. I don't think there's not much I can say on that.
You don't spend your waking hours thinking about me as a 12-year-old?
No.
And comparing yourself to your father?
No.
Trying to live up to my greatness, coming up in my shadow, the oppressive weight.
All right.
You're not going to give me anything else with that. I'm trying here. I thought that was kind of funny.
I just let you keep talking until you burn yourself out.
That's never going to happen.
No.
That's the problem. But you should know, because you're pretty good at that too.
All right.
All right. Anything else you want to say? We're wrapping up. You want to leave anybody with anything? Any final jokes, comedy bits?
Don't do drugs.
Okay.
And God's ashamed of your body. All right, bye.
Where did that come from? That is the worst message for youths today that you can possibly put out.
Well, Mom always says this. What does God want you to be ashamed of? Your body.
As a joke, people.
Yes,
I want you
to
realize this is done as a joke.
That was my message.
We're not trying to perpetuate.
Don't do drugs, and God
issues.
hates your body.
We're trying to make light of it. All right. So long.
Bye.
Hey, I want to tell you about two other podcasts real quick. The first is called Forward Tilt. Check it out. 5 to 10 minute episodes about specific ideas to improve your personal and professional life. Basic thoughts, concepts, just a single one in each episode, boiled down real quick. If you like that 5 to 10 minute format, check it out wherever it is that you subscribe and listen to podcasts. It's called Forward Tilt. Pretty good if I do say so myself. The second one is called Office Hours. It's TK Coleman, frequent guest of this podcast, and myself, and we spend about 30 minutes every week answering specific questions from specific people. Could be you if you send us a question about success in the workplace, primarily professional success for people sort of early in their careers, but it actually covers a pretty broad range. Anything from how to ask for a raise, how to impress somebody, how to know what kind of work to do, what to do when someone won't respond to your emails, anything like that. It's full of wit and wisdom that is characteristic of conversations with TK. Check out Office Hours and Forward Tilt if you like the kind of stuff on this show. Thanks for listening.